Familia, Tony Tonight is brought to you by Cuervo, the tequila that invented tequila. Did you know the very first margarita was made with Cuervo? There's nothing like the original. It's marg season, so keep it Cuervo all summer long. Vamos.
And it's almost like the first thing I look at is your watch, the second thing I look at is your shoes. That's just kind of like how I'm built.
It looks like you like watches that have more of that dressy or presidential feel.
Dímelo, mi gente, it's your boy Tony from Tony Tonight, and we are here with the one and only, the godfather of watches, Watch Eric right here. Any content that you see online of watches, this guy right here with the glasses, always locked in. Eric, why is it that us Cubans, and me, we got the gold chains on, we got the watches on already locked in, why is it that we gravitate towards watches and towards jewelry and towards all that kind of stuff?
I just feel that it's that whole Hispanic influence in the culture. I mean, here in Miami, it's very, very dominantly Hispanic. And I just feel like it's in our DNA to have some flash and jewelry and watches. I mean, you see it when you walk around. Nowhere else in the world do you see that many watches on people's wrists.
You got a couple things here that are light, bro. Nothing too crazy. Let's bring them out so we can show the people just kind of what we're working with here.
Don't drop it.
No dropping it right here. Let's get with the people. We got a couple Rollies here. We got a couple Patek Philippe's, a couple EPs. Just something, just something tropical for everyday look.
You know, the Cubans in Miami love watches.
All right, Eric, so we got a ton of watches here. So outside of these, what is the most expensive timepiece that you've had your hands on?
I mean, I've held watches in my hand that are $5 to $6 million. I'd say the most expensive I've ever sold has to be that, that Tiffany & Co. Nautilus with that green dial.
Crazy.
It sold for almost $2 million. I think that was probably the biggest transaction of last year. So hopefully this year we can beat that.
When you look at the people who have that watch, LeBron, the list goes on and on for that specific Tiffany.
Yeah, it's
Nautilus.
Pretty much they give that watch to all the celebrities or athletes first, and princes of countries and kings, and then the rest of the people buy them. Like the guy that bought it for me, I think he's the real MVP because he's the one that really put out the dough and bought it.
Yeah, when you get it for free, it's different. When did you get into the game full time?
Two of my best friends that don't really know each other, I met them in different periods of my life. They both said the same thing. They said, have you ever thought about being a professional watch dealer? I feel like you were born to do this. And that's when I thought, God, are you talking to me? Because it was random, and then I just made a decision to just, shift and pivot into that, and the rest is history.
Could you see yourself doing anything other than what you do now?
No, I mean, I would rather be fly fishing, in saltwater fly fishing for tarpon or, building my Chevys or Porsches. But other than that, for work and money, I think watches is really what I love to do.
I don't think people get just how difficult it is to sell watches, because you're looking at watches here that are a car, like as far as like money's worth.
Yeah, the difference is that a car that's $35,000, the person's gonna need it to actually drive to work. And to get around town. This, you technically really don't need it. This is a luxury. It's not easy. Everybody thinks that being a watch dealer is just, slapping on a designer shirt and using words like mazal and stuff like that. But that's not really what it is. It's really tough. And I tell a lot of people that come in and want to be watch dealers, I say, look, it's not what you think. I got to wear bulletproof underwear every day to work.
I mean, you look at these brands that have deals with certain people, and I feel like Kevin Hart, AP,
that's
absolutely hand in hand, you know what I mean? And Mark Wahlberg's a guy where you see him going to church or going to a pickleball match and he's got a $200,000 watch on. It's like the amount of watches that people like you and I who notice that, right? It's almost like the first thing I look at is your watch, the second thing I look at is your shoes. That's just kind of like how I'm built. So when you see somebody that has something like that and you're like, damn, if people only knew what that actually took to get, it would be crazy.
Yeah, that's one thing that people don't understand is that when you buy these watches, I feel like when you collect watches, it's a journey. You gotta actually hunt them down. It's a process. You gotta find it, you gotta vet it, you gotta negotiate the price. It's kind of like a hunt, and a lot of people, that's what they like. They like the process of going and finding these watches, and the chase is pretty much what it is.
So what's the most expensive one that we have here?
I would say the most expensive one right now would be either the Jefe that I'm wearing or that yellow perpetual calendar AP. These two models are in the mid to low 200s.
It's crazy. It's a house. Well, not here in Miami. It's a
Not
house.
here, but
somewhere else. It is
yeah,
a
but
house.
at some point it was a full apartment in Miami,
Right?
you know, on the wrist.
What's the watch that you would say, all right, this is the starter watch to kind of kick you off into this game?
I think once you get into a Rolex, doesn't have to be a crazy one. I feel like it's the gateway drug. Once you start buying Rolex, then from there you start really, you know, unraveling and going down the rabbit hole.
It feels like I do that already, and my wife's like, "Bata Sanui, you're not gonna buy one right now," and I'm like, damn, okay, for sure.
It looks like you like watches that have more of that dressy or presidential feel.
Close your eyes. What's the one watch that you can picture anybody in Miami wearing? It's a black steel sub.
Yeah, and I think one up on top of that, I think the official Miami starter pack is the two-tone Submariner with the Cuban link chain. That is the most Miami combo in the game right there.
Rolex is known for different names, different nicknames, right? I see we got a Sprite here, we got some different things. Like, we got a Pepsi here. Can you go through some of these and kind of just give them the nicknames and why we call it that?
Yeah, let me give you an example. We'll start with, this one is the Wimbledon, like you said. And the reason they call it the Wimbledon is because Rolex doesn't have many ambassadors, but Roger Federer is pretty much an ambassador of that brand. And this dial is kind of like the one that he always wears. So they call it the Wimbledon, you know, to go with the theme of tennis. You know, this one, they call it right now the Sprite. Imagine. That starts off with the fact that years ago in the 80s, they had a GMT with a red and blue bezel, and they called it the Pepsi.
Right.
Then it evolved to the Coca-Cola, which I have one over there. And then now, I guess, with the black and green, they called it the Sprite to continue the soft drink theme.
One of the only right-handed
Yes,
wear
correct.
watches.
It's one of the, they call it a lefty or destro, which means it's, you know, on the other side, the orientation. These aren't names that are brought up from the actual factory. I'm sure that they're like pissed off about it, but these are more the guys, the enthusiasts, they nickname them, you know, and as you go on, you have, you know, for example, this particular watch, I named it almost 10 years ago, the Jefe.
The Jefe, right.
And it has stuck, you know, I should have just copyrighted that, but it has stuck. And then like this one, they call it the Saru. And the reason it's called the Saru is because in the actual model number of it, the last 3 digits is SARU for sapphire rubies. So it's a short of, you know, sapphire rubies. The Jefe is running right now, depending on the year, it could be low 200s. A year and a half ago, they were at 300,000. And then something like this Saru, due to the fact of the low production, you're gonna be probably in the low hundreds.
I saw a video the other day of Neymar with the Jacob & Co.
Oh yeah.
The roulette.
Yeah.
How much does something like that run for?
I would say, depending on how much diamonds it has, I would say at least 300K. Now that you mentioned soccer, like Cristiano has a really extensive collection. The thing about these watches is they have a watch for everybody. What you like, I might not like, and vice versa. Cristiano has crazy watches. Do I like all of them? No, I think he has a little bit of bad taste in watches. Even though the ones they did for him, for Jacob and Nicole, I think those are more the nicer ones that he has. I feel like Jacob has that right blend where he blended jewelry, fashion, watches, all right in the middle. I mean, he's really doing something that nobody else is doing.
Eric, bro, thank you so much for allowing us a view into what your daily life is here. Like, this is a kid in a candy shop for me. Like, looking at this stuff is things you only see on your page. You know what I mean? Where you're in the Porsche, you've got the Jefe on. Bro, thank you so much for letting us hang out and showing us some of your incredible timepieces.
No problem, man. Thank you for coming. And, you know, whenever you're ready, let me know. I will walk you down the path.
Bro, in a couple years, we'll come through, maybe get a little Wimbledon here, bro. I think this is the one. The all gold date. That's the one for me, bro.
Okay.
So what's the best out the door price you can get me?
All right. So for the yellow date, $36,500.
$36,500. Okay.
Out the door.
Out the door. What if I give you that for right now? I take it out the door, but then I come back later with the cash.
100? You serious?
Yeah, down payment. That's a down payment.
Please don't make me kick you out.
Thank you for watching Tony Tunite. Carlito, cut the block.